Ethan ran as fast as his legs could carry him, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The metallic corridor stretched endlessly before him, illuminated by cold, pale lights that reflected off the sleek walls of the alien ship. He had never been on a vessel like this, not in his wildest imagination. Every surface seemed alive, shifting slightly with the hum of energy flowing through it. He could hear the heavy footsteps behind him, the synchronized clank of the alien guards in pursuit. Their movements were precise, calculated, almost mechanical. There was no hesitation in their chase, no mercy in their intent. He darted around a corner and pressed himself against the wall, listening. The guards paused for a moment, scanning the area with their elongated, glowing eyes. Ethan's chest heaved and sweat rolled down his forehead. He was terrified, yet he couldn't allow fear to paralyze him. Humans had always been underestimated in the galaxy, but he knew they had a gift that no alien species could fully mimic: quick thinking and adaptability. Taking a deep breath, Ethan pushed off the wall and sprinted again, using his small size and human agility to his advantage. He noticed vents along the walls and wondered if they might lead somewhere safer, some hidden passage the shipbuilders had left behind. His mind raced as he calculated possibilities, weighing the risks of each turn. Every choice could mean freedom or capture. He slid through a side corridor, narrowly avoiding a patrol. The walls were smooth and cold, and the hum of energy beneath his feet vibrated through his body. Along the way, he saw faint holographic displays flickering with alien writing he could not decipher. The images showed beings he had never seen, tall and elegant, their features sharp and precise, dressed in uniforms that shimmered as if woven from light itself. He realized that this ship was not just a vessel. It was a palace, a place of importance. Perhaps the beings on board were not mere soldiers. Perhaps they served a ruler of great influence. Ethan's mind briefly entertained the idea of giving up, but instinct and training kicked in. Humans survived in the harshest environments, thrived against impossible odds, and he intended to prove that once again. He ducked into a maintenance alcove and quickly examined a control panel. Although he couldn't read the alien symbols, he could see the patterns and sequences of lights. Using trial and error, he activated a door that slid open silently, revealing a narrow service tunnel. The tunnel was dark, cramped, and unfamiliar, but it offered hope. As he ran through it, he could hear the guards' voices echoing down the main corridor, their words sharp and commanding, filled with a language he could not understand. Yet he knew the meaning: danger, pursuit, and relentless determination. Ethan's mind worked like a machine, scanning for options, planning for contingencies. Every sense was heightened, every nerve on edge. At one point, he had to leap over a gap where the floor had been lifted for maintenance. His feet landed on cold metal with a clang that made him wince, but fortunately, the sound did not carry far. The vibration of the ship made his stomach churn, but he could not stop. The human ability to endure, to adapt, to improvise under pressure was his greatest weapon. He pressed forward, knowing that one wrong step would bring him face to face with capture. Finally, he reached a junction where three paths branched into the unknown. His instinct told him to go left, toward a faint glow at the end of a corridor. He didn't know what awaited him, but staying in place was not an option. He dashed forward, his movements fueled by fear and determination. The hum of the ship seemed to grow louder, almost as if the vessel itself was aware of his presence. Shadows danced on the walls as he ran, and the corridors seemed to twist and stretch, challenging him to find a way through. Ethan's mind briefly wandered to Earth, to the simple life he had left behind. He remembered the warmth of the sun, the smell of rain, and the sound of human voices laughing. Those memories gave him strength. He realized that humans, though small and seemingly fragile, carried a resilience that no advanced technology could defeat. It was not strength alone, but cleverness, courage, and heart that made humans formidable. As he rounded another corner, the sound of the guards grew closer, and Ethan's pulse quickened. His muscles screamed, his lungs burned, yet he pushed harder, faster, relying on instincts honed through years of exploration and survival training. Somewhere ahead, a door shimmered faintly, bathed in a soft golden light. It was a chance, a way to escape, or perhaps a path to something entirely unknown. Ethan sprinted toward it, knowing that every step, every decision could change the course of his life forever. And in that moment, despite the fear and chaos, he felt a spark of hope. Humans had survived the impossible before. They could do it again. Ethan slipped through the shimmering door and found himself in a narrow passage that smelled faintly of metal and ozone. The corridor was dimly lit, but unlike the main halls it seemed less traveled, almost hidden. His legs ached, his chest burned, but he forced himself to keep moving. Every second counted. The distant sounds of the alien guards echoed faintly behind him, a constant reminder that he could not stop. As he ran, he noticed strange panels along the walls, covered in symbols that pulsed with light. Although he could not read them, patterns emerged in his mind. He realized that the lights responded to movement and touch. His curiosity sparked a thought. Perhaps he could use these systems to his advantage. He hesitated for only a moment before brushing a hand over one panel. A soft click sounded, and a nearby door slid open, revealing a maintenance tunnel that seemed to twist deep into the ship. The tunnel was tighter than the main corridors, forcing him to move sideways at times. He could hear his own breath echoing, but it was safer than the open corridors where the guards could spot him. He pressed forward, feeling the vibrations of the ship under his feet, sensing its rhythm as if it were alive. The tunnel wound downward, and faint streams of cool air brushed against his face, carrying a smell of machinery and electricity. Ethan's mind raced, thinking of every story he had read about humans who had survived impossible situations. He had always believed that courage alone could not save a person. It had to be paired with intelligence, quick reflexes, and careful observation. He applied these lessons now, using every sense to anticipate danger. At one bend he paused, listening carefully. The sounds of pursuit were fading, but he could not be certain. The ship was vast and unpredictable. A faint humming drew his attention. He approached carefully and peered through a small panel. Beyond it he saw glowing conduits of energy running along the walls, feeding into what looked like a control room. Machines of unknown purpose lined the chamber, their lights flickering in a rhythm that reminded him of a heartbeat. The room was empty, but it offered an opportunity. Ethan could use the equipment to create a distraction, giving him a chance to put distance between himself and the guards. He ducked into a shadowed alcove and studied the mechanisms. Though he could not understand the technology, he observed patterns. The flow of light, the timing of the hum, the movement of small robotic arms. Using trial and error, he touched one of the conduits. Sparks flew and alarms briefly blared, but the main corridor was far enough away that the guards were momentarily diverted. He seized the chance, sprinting deeper into the tunnel, heart hammering, adrenaline surging. As he ran, Ethan found small displays projecting holographic images of the ship's layout. He memorized turns and passages as quickly as he could, imagining that these details might save his life. He realized that the aliens had built the ship with incredible precision, but even the most advanced design had overlooked one thing: the human mind's ability to adapt and improvise. He smiled faintly, thinking of how often humans had turned disadvantage into advantage, using creativity to survive when technology seemed unbeatable. Suddenly, a faint light appeared at the end of the tunnel. Ethan approached cautiously and found a small door partially open. Beyond it was a wider corridor, one that glimmered with soft golden light. It seemed different from the rest of the ship, almost regal in design. The walls were adorned with intricate patterns, and the floor gleamed as if polished to perfection. Ethan's curiosity surged alongside his fear. He knew he had stumbled into a section of the ship meant for someone important. The corridor led him past rooms that seemed to be offices or studies, each filled with strange devices and alien artifacts. Holographic images flickered to life as he passed, displaying scenes of alien landscapes, towering cities, and gatherings of beings he could not identify. It was clear that this ship was not just a military vessel. It was a place of governance, strategy, and perhaps even ceremony. Every detail suggested a civilization that valued order, intelligence, and hierarchy. Ethan pressed on, careful to make as little noise as possible. The hum of the ship seemed to change as he approached a larger chamber ahead. His instincts told him this was no ordinary room. The golden glow intensified, reflecting off metallic surfaces in a way that made the space feel alive. He slowed, realizing that he might have reached the heart of the ship. Somewhere beyond this door could be the key to understanding the alien civilization, or it could be his end if he was discovered. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, every sense alert. The thrill of the unknown pushed him onward, mingling with fear and anticipation. Humans had always thrived in the face of uncertainty, and Ethan knew that courage and cleverness were his only allies now. As he reached for the door handle, he felt a strange mixture of dread and excitement. Whatever lay beyond, it was clear that his life, and perhaps the future of humanity, could be changed forever. With one final push, Ethan opened the door and stepped inside, unaware of how close he had come to discovering the most important being on the ship. Ethan stepped through the door cautiously, expecting another corridor or storage room, but what he saw made him freeze. The chamber before him was unlike anything he had ever imagined. It was vast, stretching high above his head with ceilings that shimmered as if made from liquid light. Soft golden beams danced across walls of polished metal, engraved with alien patterns that seemed to shift slightly as he moved. The floor glowed faintly beneath him, and delicate streams of light floated like tiny fireflies in the air, casting shadows that made the room feel alive. At the center of the chamber stood a figure that commanded every ounce of his attention. The Queen. She was taller than any human, her presence radiating authority and intelligence. Her skin had a subtle shimmer, reflecting the light around her, and her eyes, large and luminous, studied Ethan with a calm but piercing curiosity. Unlike the guards, she moved with a fluid grace, almost as if she were gliding rather than walking. Her robes shimmered in multiple colors, blending seamlessly with the room's glow, making her appear almost ethereal. Ethan's heart pounded so loudly that he thought she might hear it. He had expected the guards to catch him, or some security system to activate, but instead everything was silent except for the soft hum of energy that filled the chamber. The Queen's gaze did not seem angry. It was curious, almost amused. Ethan swallowed hard, trying to find words. He wanted to explain himself, to beg forgiveness for trespassing, but fear and awe made him hesitate. "Who are you?" The Queen's voice echoed softly, yet it seemed to resonate directly inside Ethan's mind. The sound was not harsh or loud, but it carried authority beyond any human language he knew. Ethan straightened, forcing himself to speak clearly. I am Ethan. I didn't mean to enter. I was being chased. I didn't know where else to go." The Queen's luminous eyes studied him carefully, as if she could see every thought racing through his mind. Ethan realized that in this place nothing could be hidden. He took a cautious step forward, keeping his hands visible to show he meant no harm. The room seemed to react to him, the light shifting subtly as he moved, almost like the chamber itself was alive and aware of his presence. "Most humans never make it this far," she said, her tone calm but layered with meaning. "They are clever but reckless. You, however, have survived the corridors, avoided the guards, and reached the heart of this ship. That is unusual." Ethan swallowed again, feeling a mix of fear and a strange sense of pride. Humans were often underestimated, and here was proof that human resourcefulness could surpass even advanced alien technology. I just wanted to survive," he admitted. "I didn't mean to intrude." The Queen tilted her head slightly, considering him. "Survival is important, but curiosity is rarer. You did not simply flee. You observed, you adapted. That is why you are here. Perhaps there is more to you than I expected." Ethan blinked, surprised. No alien had ever spoken to him this way. The guards were always rigid, mechanical, focused on orders, but she seemed different. Intelligent, curious, even thoughtful. He realized that this encounter could change everything, not just for him, but for humanity's understanding of these beings. He noticed the chamber contained objects that were clearly not just decorative. Crystalline devices hovered in midair, projecting holographic images of distant planets and star systems. Strange artifacts, elegant and precise, lined the walls. Ethan understood instinctively that this was the Queen's private space, a place no human was meant to enter. The weight of the moment pressed upon him, but so did a flicker of hope. I don't know what to say," Ethan admitted. "I've never met anyone like you." The Queen's expression softened slightly, though her gaze remained sharp. "And I have never met a human like you. Tell me, Ethan, why do you survive when others do not? What drives you?" Ethan thought carefully. Humans survived not because they were the strongest, not because they had the best technology, but because they never gave up. We find ways, we adapt, we think, even when the odds are against us. We keep moving forward. The Queen considered his words in silence. Then slowly she nodded. "Perhaps there is wisdom in your kind. Perhaps there is value in understanding you." Her presence was calm yet commanding, and Ethan felt a mixture of fear, respect, and fascination. The distant footsteps of the guards reminded him that his time here might not be unlimited. Yet for the first time he realized that he was no longer merely a fugitive. In this chamber, in this moment, humans, through his actions, had proven something important. Courage, intelligence, and adaptability could earn recognition even in the most alien of worlds. Ethan took a careful step back, his mind racing with possibilities. He had stumbled into the Queen's chamber by accident, but he had survived the impossible once again. And now, for reasons he did not fully understand, he was not being punished. Instead, he was being watched, assessed, and perhaps even respected. For the first time since his flight began, a spark of hope grew within him. Humans had always found a way to endure, and now it seemed that even in the heart of an alien ship, they could make their mark. Ethan could feel the weight of the Queen's gaze on him, an invisible pressure that made every movement deliberate, every breath cautious. He had expected anger, punishment, maybe even immediate removal from the chamber, yet here he stood, alive and watched. The golden light around them seemed to pulse gently, almost as if responding to the rhythm of his heartbeat. He had survived the corridors, avoided the guards, and stumbled into the most important room on the ship. But survival alone would not be enough. The Queen was intelligent, and intelligence required more than speed or luck to impress. "You have reached a place few have ever seen," the Queen said, her voice soft but echoing with authority. "Yet survival is not the measure of value. Tell me, Ethan, what can you do with your mind? What can you offer that others cannot?" Ethan swallowed, realizing that words were now as important as actions. Humans had always been underestimated for their physical strength, but their greatest advantage was intelligence, creativity, and the ability to improvise. He straightened, trying to convey confidence even though his mind raced. I think differently. I notice patterns, I find solutions where others see walls. I adapt quickly. That is how humans survive in harsh conditions." The Queen's eyes seemed to shimmer brighter for a moment, as if she were weighing his words against some invisible scale. Then she spoke again. "Observation and adaptation are valuable, but understanding is deeper than reaction. Tell me something you see here that intrigues you." Ethan's gaze swept across the chamber. Crystalline devices floated mid-air, projecting star maps and alien scripts he could not read. Strange machines emitted a soft hum, their purposes unknown, yet they moved with purpose and precision. The way the energy flows through this chamber, it's alive in a sense. Everything here seems connected. Even the light and shadows. They respond to movement. I've never seen anything like this. The Queen tilted her head slightly, a gesture that made her glow subtly. "You notice patterns where others see chaos. That is intriguing. Few beings can understand the subtle ways systems interact without direct instruction." She paused, and Ethan felt as if her eyes reached into the depths of his mind. "I will give you a challenge, human. It is simple, yet it will show me your potential. Are you willing?" Ethan nodded immediately. "Yes, anything." The Queen extended a hand, and one of the floating crystals shifted to hover in front of him. Its surface displayed a series of symbols that glowed and rotated slowly. "These represent a sequence. You may not understand the language, but logic is universal. Arrange the sequence in a way that maintains balance, symmetry, and flow. Only through observation and reasoning will you succeed." Ethan approached the crystal cautiously. He could not read the symbols, but he could see their shapes, colors, and how they interacted. He touched one, and it spun gently, connecting with another symbol. Slowly, he began to move them, testing patterns, noting how one shift affected the others. Minutes passed, though they felt like hours. Sweat dripped down his temple, his fingers moving quickly, his mind entirely focused. The Queen watched silently, her expression unreadable. Ethan's heart pounded, but he remained calm, recalling lessons from survival, strategy games, and human history. Humans had always solved problems when others despaired. They had survived impossible odds not because they were the strongest, but because they persisted, thought, and adapted. Finally, he aligned the symbols in a pattern that felt balanced. The crystal pulsed brightly and then expanded, projecting a holographic sequence across the chamber. Ethan stepped back, breathing heavily. The Queen's eyes glimmered with faint approval. "You see connections where others see randomness. You add, apt without instruction. That is rare. Most beings fail not because they lack strength, but because they lack understanding." Ethan felt a surge of relief. He had passed some invisible test, though he knew this was only the beginning. "Thank you," he said softly. I only try to understand what I see. The Queen's gaze softened, though it remained powerful. You have courage, human, and that courage is paired with intelligence. These qualities make your kind noteworthy. Perhaps there is more to you than survival alone. Perhaps there is potential for something greater. Ethan's mind raced. Humans had always struggled to be recognized among other civilizations, often underestimated because of their size and simple technology. And yet here he was, in the heart of an alien ship, being assessed not for strength but for intelligence and creativity. He realized that humans had survived because they had always found ways to shine in moments of challenge, even when others doubted them. The Queen moved closer, her presence filling the room. Your species is small, fragile by some standards, yet you endure, adapt, and learn. That is impressive. Many of my kind lack the subtlety of thought you possess. It is why you are here and not among the discarded. Ethan nodded, understanding that he had gained something unexpected. It was not safety, not yet, but recognition. Humans had proven themselves in countless ways, but never so directly to a being as powerful as this. A spark of hope ignited within him. Perhaps survival was not enough. Perhaps humans could earn respect, even admiration, in worlds far beyond their own. And in that moment, standing in the golden light of the Queen's chamber, Ethan understood something fundamental. Human courage and intelligence were not just tools. They were proof that even the smallest beings could make a difference in the vastness of the universe. Ethan took a cautious breath, realizing that for the first time in hours he was no longer running for his life. The Queen's attention was focused on him, not with anger or suspicion, but with curiosity. It was a strange feeling, being assessed by a being so powerful, yet feeling a glimmer of understanding pass between them. He allowed himself to relax slightly, though his mind remained alert. Survival had brought him here, but understanding would keep him alive, and perhaps more. You have shown cleverness, the Queen said softly, her glowing eyes fixed on him. But cleverness alone does not define value. There is something more in you. I wish to know what it is. Ethan thought carefully. Humans often survived because they could not only solve problems but also connect with others, build trust, and learn quickly from experience. He took a deep breath. I think humans are strong not just in body or mind, but in spirit. We survive because we keep going, because we care for each other, because we try to understand the world and learn from it. That is why I am here, and why I keep moving forward. The Queen considered his words, and for a moment the chamber seemed to hold its breath. Ethan could see a subtle shift in her expression, an acknowledgement, perhaps even admiration. Interesting. You are not just clever, you are aware. You understand the importance of life, of continuity, of connection. Few beings appreciate such things fully. Ethan nodded. I've learned that no one survives alone. Even when everything seems impossible, cooperation and understanding matter. That's how humans endure. That's how we've explored worlds, survived wars, and thrived despite danger. The Queen's gaze seemed to linger, examining him in a way that was almost personal. She moved slowly, circling him as if studying a living puzzle. You adapt quickly. You learn through observation and reason. You are brave yet not reckless. This combination is rare even among my people. Perhaps there is a way to turn your presence here into something meaningful. Ethan's pulse quickened. He realized she was offering him a chance, not just to survive, but to show what humans could offer. I will do whatever I can to help, he said. Even here in your world, I want to understand and I want to contribute. If there's a way I can prove myself, I'll try. The Queen paused, then gestured toward a large, hovering map in the center of the room. The holographic display showed multiple star systems, planets, and networks of energy connecting them. Ethan studied it, trying to grasp what it represented. This is incredible, he whispered. Your knowledge of the galaxy, it's far beyond anything humans have achieved. She nodded. Yes, and yet knowledge alone is not enough. Wisdom comes from action and judgment. That is why your species intrigues me. You survive despite limitations. You learn despite obstacles. You continue despite fear. That is wisdom in motion. Ethan felt a swell of pride. Humans had often been underestimated, judged for what they lacked rather than what they could achieve. Here, in the heart of an alien ship, he realized that their persistence, adaptability, and courage could be recognized, even respected. I never thought anyone would see us that way, he said softly. The Queen's eyes softened. Few do. Perhaps that is why you are here. Perhaps the universe has a purpose for those who endure, who adapt, who think beyond themselves. You may be small, human, but small beings can create great impact. Ethan stepped closer to the floating map, tracing the connections with his hand. He realized that humans had always found ways to survive and thrive through curiosity, courage, and intelligence. It was not brute strength or advanced weapons that had allowed them to explore the stars. It was these qualities, present in moments of uncertainty, that had carried them forward. "Do you see?" the Queen said, her voice both commanding and gentle, "that understanding intelligence and courage can open doors? Even doors that seem impossible?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, I think I do. Humans have always survived because we never give up. We find ways to solve problems, to connect, to adapt. That's what makes us strong." The Queen seemed to smile, though her expression was subtle, like sunlight reflecting on water. "Then perhaps your journey here is not by accident. Perhaps your arrival is a test, and perhaps it is the beginning of something more. Your species has potential, Ethan. Your species has promise. I see it now." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, a rare and unfamiliar sense of accomplishment. For the first time, he was not merely running or hiding. He was being recognized for his mind, his courage, and his spirit. Humans were often underestimated. But in this chamber, under the gaze of the Queen, he understood that even the smallest, most fragile beings could leave a mark in a universe that seemed impossible to conquer. As he looked at the holographic map, Ethan realized that survival had brought him here, but understanding and courage might carry him further. And in that realization, he found something greater than fear: hope. Ethan knew that his time in the Queen's chamber could not last forever. The alien guards would eventually search every corner of the ship, and despite her curiosity and apparent respect, he could not remain there indefinitely. Yet the Queen's attention had shifted from assessment to something else, an unspoken understanding. It was clear she recognized his skill, his intelligence, and perhaps, in her own way, valued his presence. "You will not survive the corridors forever," the Queen said softly, her luminous eyes meeting his. "If you are to leave, it must be with purpose and careful planning. I will help you, but the choice and the risk are yours alone." Ethan felt a mixture of relief and determination. Humans thrived on challenges, and he had faced impossible situations before. "I understand," he replied. "I don't want to cause trouble, but I have to get back to my ship. I need to report what I've seen." This knowledge, it could change everything. The Queen inclined her head slightly, almost like a nod of approval. "Very well. Follow me carefully. I will show you a path not seen by many, one that can lead you out without alerting the guards. But beware. The corridors are treacherous, and the ship is alive in ways you do not yet comprehend." She moved gracefully toward a side door, and Ethan followed, careful to match her pace. As they entered a hidden passage, he marveled at the quiet efficiency of the route. Unlike the main corridors, this passage seemed untouched by the patrols. Lights pulsed gently along the walls, indicating the flow of energy throughout the ship. Ethan realized that he could use this knowledge to avoid detection, to stay one step ahead of the pursuing guards. The Queen stopped at a junction. "Here you must rely on observation and instinct," she said. "The path splits in ways the guards would not expect. Choose wisely, and you may escape unnoticed." Ethan nodded, studying the options. One path led downward, hard, following a narrow maintenance shaft, while another curved upward, disappearing behind thick, glowing panels. Trusting his instincts, he chose the upper path, hoping that the guards would be less likely to search there. The Queen gestured him onward and remained behind briefly, watching silently as he moved. As he navigated the twisting corridor, Ethan encountered mechanisms and security devices unlike anything on Earth. Energy barriers flickered on and off, and robotic sentries hovered silently in the distance. Using what he had learned from observing the ship, he timed his movements carefully, slipping past the obstacles without triggering alarms. Every step required concentration, speed, and creativity, human skills that even advanced technology could not fully predict. At one point, a guard rounded a corner ahead. Ethan froze, hiding behind a support beam. He could hear its mechanical breathing, the clank of its movements, and the sharp scanning of its eyes. Time seemed to stretch as he waited, heart pounding. Then, as the guard passed, he darted forward, pressing himself flat against the wall. The Queen's advice echoed in his mind. Observation and instinct would guide him. Finally, he reached a chamber where the floor opened into a wide shaft. Pipes and conduits ran along the walls, carrying energy and fluid throughout the ship. This was the exit route the Queen had promised, but it was not easy. Ethan had to climb carefully, using small handholds and balancing on narrow beams, all while avoiding detection. His muscles burned, his fingers ached, but he pushed forward. Remembering the lessons of survival, humans endure, adapt, and continue. Halfway through the shaft, he paused to catch his breath and looked back. For a moment he imagined the Queen watching him, a silent guardian guiding him through danger. Her trust, fragile but present, strengthened his resolve. He realized that humans could survive not only because of strength or intelligence, but also because they had allies, and sometimes the most unlikely allies could change everything. At last, the passage opened onto a narrow corridor leading toward the outer decks. Light from the ship's observation windows streamed in, casting long shadows and revealing glimpses of stars far beyond. Ethan's chest heaved with relief and exhilaration. He had made it this far without alerting the guards, and the Queen's guidance had been invaluable. He understood that she had chosen to respect his courage and intelligence, and in doing so, she had given humanity a rare opportunity. As he approached the final door, he could hear faint alarms in the distance. The guards had realized something was amiss. Ethan moved quickly, trusting his instincts, and slipped through the hatch onto the outer deck. The cold, empty expanse of the ship's surface stretched before him, but it was freedom compared to the chaos within. He paused for a moment, gazing at the stars, knowing that his journey was far from over, but that humanity had proven itself once again in the face of danger. And as he stepped forward toward the airlock that would return him to his own ship, he carried with him more than just knowledge of alien technology and layouts. He carried proof that humans, through courage, intelligence, and adaptability, could survive, earn respect, and make a difference even in the most alien of worlds. Ethan pushed open the final hatch and stepped into the cool expanse of the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly before him, glittering like countless diamonds against the black canvas of space. He could feel the hum of the alien ship beneath his feet, a constant reminder of the danger he had escaped. Behind him, alarms were sounding faintly, the alien guards finally realizing the breach. But for now, he had the advantage, and his focus was entirely on getting back to his own ship. He ran toward the airlock, heart racing, legs burning from hours of exertion. Every step reminded him of the Queen's guidance, of the trust she had extended in a world that was not meant for humans. He understood that her curiosity had saved him, that her recognition of his intelligence had given him the chance to survive. It was a lesson he would carry forever. Courage and adaptability could create opportunities where none seemed to exist. Sliding the airlock door open, Ethan entered the small shuttle he had used to board the alien ship. He quickly sealed the hatch and activated the engines. The controls responded smoothly under his hands, and a wave of relief washed over him. He exhaled, allowing himself a brief moment of calm. Though he knew the adventure was far from over, the alien ship loomed behind him, a vast and imposing structure. But now he had knowledge and understanding that would serve humanity well. As the shuttle rose and maneuvered away, Ethan reflected on what had happened. He had survived the corridors, navigated the hidden passages, and faced challenges no human had ever encountered. He had met the Queen, a being of intelligence and power, and had impressed her with nothing but his mind, his courage, and his human ingenuity. Humans had always been underestimated, yet here he was, proving that even the smallest beings could make a difference in a universe filled with giants. The shuttle moved quickly through the void of space, passing the alien vessel and heading toward the distant horizon where his own ship waited. Ethan felt a strange mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had been terrified, tested, and challenged, but he had endured. He thought of Earth, of the people who relied on humanity's explorers, and he knew that the knowledge he carried could be crucial. The Queen had shared more than just a path to escape. She had shown him glimpses of alien technology, strategies, and networks that could change the way humans approach the stars. Ethan's mind wandered to the Queen herself. She had been unlike any being he had met, intelligent, curious, and capable of understanding value beyond strength or obedience. He realized that humans could earn respect not through fear or aggression, but through thought, creativity, and courage. It was a lesson that transcended species, a universal truth that he would carry back to his world. The shuttle approached his ship, and he docked smoothly, hearts still racing from the tension of the escape. He quickly reported the incident to the command center, describing the ship, the corridors, the guards, and the chamber he had discovered. His words were precise, careful to convey the magnitude of the experience without exaggeration. The officers listened in stunned silence, realizing that humanity had glimpsed an advanced civilization in a way no one else had before. Ethan allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. Humans had always faced the unknown with courage, and this mission had proven that the combination of intelligence, adaptability, and determination could overcome even the most overwhelming obstacles. The Queen's recognition had shown him that human potential was not limited to survival alone. It could earn respect, curiosity, and even admiration from those far stronger and more advanced. He looked out the observation window at the alien ship receding into the distance. For a brief moment he imagined the Queen watching him, perhaps considering the humans in a new light. There was a silent understanding between them now, a bridge of recognition built on courage and intellect. Ethan realized that this encounter could be the beginning of something greater, a future where humans and advanced alien civilizations might understand each other, cooperate, and even thrive together. As the shuttle entered the orbit of his home station, Ethan felt a sense of accomplishment unlike any he had known. He had survived, yes, but he had also proven the strength of humanity in its purest form. Humans were not the strongest nor the most technologically advanced, but they were creative, brave, and persistent. They adapted when others faltered and endured when others gave up. In the vastness of the galaxy, these qualities could make all the difference. Ethan stepped out of the shuttle onto the station's deck, greeted by familiar faces and the quiet hum of humanity's presence. Yet in his mind, the memory of the Queen's chamber remained vivid, the golden light, the floating symbols, and her piercing, intelligent gaze. He knew that the universe was far larger and stranger than anyone on Earth had imagined, and that humans had a place within it, a chance to shine in ways no one had predicted. As he prepared to report fully to the Command Council, Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose. The galaxy was full of unknowns, dangers, and wonders, but humans had the tools to survive, adapt, and even thrive. The Queen had seen it in him, and through his actions, he had shown that humanity's spirit could reach beyond fear, beyond danger, and even into the hearts and minds of those far greater than themselves. Ethan looked to the stars, determination shining in his eyes. Humanity had survived the impossible once again, and now with courage, intelligence, and hope, the future was theirs to shape.